Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Dolls. Today we have a specific topic that I chose. Did a little research, dug into a lot of my books, which, if you don't have 20 million and one books to dig into for research, do you really research? I'm just kidding. But I had a lot at my disposal. So first I wanted to kind of update everybody. If you want to say, hey, you're here, put a thumbs up, wave, whatnot. We are live, and cat shenanigans can happen. Just a warning. They've happened before, they'll happen 20 million times again. Updates. Before I dive into the topic, no, hold up, folks, we got a tabby interference. It's a common thing around here. I wanted to give everybody an update on my patterns, or at least the first pattern in the pattern line. This is not quite the final pattern because I found some stuff wrong with it, but this is one of the sleeves for the low bodice, and it's actually going to dip down a little bit in the front. We actually just went and redid that piece today. So this week, actually I'll put her over here. This week my plan is to get my directions written up. That's going to be fun. I've never done that before. And do some final details on the patterns. Excuse me. And then I have a super secret pattern tester. And she's knowledgeable in making patterns, but as well, making doll clothes, things like that. So she's gonna give me her revisions and see what I need to improve upon, and then hopefully by the end of October I'll have this one out. Now luckily the next couple patterns were not as rough as this one was. I chose to tackle the worst pattern. This one was like the worst drafted. It was one of my first ones. It was bad. So I wanted to tackle that first. So the other ones, once I get everything, all the kinks worked out in the direction writing process and all that, source my printed envelopes and the printing of the patterns, which we have a really great... Sorry folks, we have the window open for the cats. Oh, good Lord. We live in downtown Gettysburg, and we're not right in the business, like the tourist area, but we're more towards the college. Yeah, shenanigans still go on our street. So anyways.
Will you compose yourself?
Yeah.
Sandra Augustus has joined us.
Oh, welcome. But yeah, we have a really great print shop in town. Once our Staples closed, everybody was upset. But once our Staples closed, the great people from the print center there opened up their own print shop. My other half uses them for his business, and I'm probably going to use them as well because, you got to support local businesses. Small business, local business. So I'm hoping in the next week or two to meet with them and look at envelope styles, and I got to work out pattern, artwork, all that fun stuff. So, like I said, I'm trying for the end of October. Fingers crossed. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. I'm trying to think. Do I want to do my book of the week, or do I want to talk on my topic with the book of the week in the middle? Because it all goes together. I'm going to start on the topic because I can't really explain this book without my topic. So So one of the books that I used for my research, along with a couple others, but the main one actually was a book of the week before, but I'm just going to quickly refresh your memory if you haven't already bought it. It's the Collector's Book of Doll Clothes. It's got a little bit of everything in there, and I use this pretty much for a good portion of my research because it's the most thorough. Elizabeth Coleman is one of the authors of this, and she is still alive and kicking and writing really awesome books. So, without further ado, I decided, since I've been working on this pattern line, to talk about the basics of doll clothing patterns throughout the years. They start showing up about the mid-1850s. And when I say showing up, I'm going to talk about showing up in the magazines. There's a lot of sources back then that you could write to the magazine or the company to get patterns. But tonight I'm just focusing on the patterns that you could basically trace out of your Godey's or whatnot. Made for the home sewing audience, things like that. So if you don't know, Godey's Ladies book is awesome. Sarah Hale was the editor, and I don't know what his first name is, but Mr. Godey was the publisher. Sarah Hale is pretty cool. I'm not going to go too much into her stuff because I don't have all my details. I wrote a blog post on her, and she's pretty awesome. So 1855, in July of 1855, Godey's publishes the first doll pattern. It's for a baby doll's cap. Let me see. I probably don't have any of my stuff in order. Sorry, folks. Long weekend. So, it's just, you'd cut 2 of these. I'm gonna guess, I haven't seen the description, but I'm gonna guess this is embroidered or done with broider anglais, which is kind of similar to white work. White work and broider anglais, but it's comparable in style to eyelet, but it's better. So this is July 1855, and that was the baby doll's cap. And the nice thing was they didn't, if you've ever taken a Godey's pattern from the book and you've just tried scaling it up, it doesn't always work. I've tried that pattern just to make a mock-up. You have to make a lot of changes with it. So eventually that might actually be something I do, because there's a lot of really cool patterns out there. And one of the pieces that I'm going to show you tonight, my other half and I were discussing, and he was like, you should do these, like actually make them so people could make these clothes. I'm like, that's a good idea. So later that year, September of 1855, I don't have an image of this one, sorry. They put out a doll collar, a pattern for a doll collar in imitation Honiton lace. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Apologies to lace collectors. And then in 1856 and 1858, they put out embroidered doll pattern collar, or doll collars. This one, I think, this is from 1866, I believe. Don't quote me on that, because for some reason, I don't think I've ever found the year. This might be the late 1850s one, but I'm not quite sure. But this is a doll's collar and embroidery for young beginners. So, it's something I would like to tackle one day. When I don't have 20 million and one projects going. When that's going to be, I don't know. But as you can see, you could just embroider it. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could do this in white work or broider anglais. But basically, this would have been a big collar on a small doll. And they made it so that you could scale them to whatever size you needed. And that's the same with the baby doll's cap, things like that. So then goatees, we're still in goatees here. In the early 1860, sorry. I don't have the months because this actually spanned a couple months, a couple different issues that year. They published in Goatees itself how to dress a doll. Now, it came with, I'm trying to find my little list here. It had the chemise, the corset, petticoat, drawers, mantle, a hat, a dress, things like that. Now, I know somebody who's tried these. They don't work, just scaling them up. So, yeah, it's definitely something I want to tackle one day because I think it'd be really great. And then I have it in book format, but I actually do own the originals, the original Goatees. The books are so delicate, I don't like bringing them out. So I like my repro copies, or in the case of, the baby doll cap, the laminated copies, because I do handle this stuff a lot, so I do try and make copies of the original so I'm not damaging 150 plus year old items. So this, like I said, this Goatees How to Dress a Doll, I would like to tackle that in the future. We'll see when. Right now, being in the middle of the big pattern project, who knows? So, and that one was actually republished, Goatees How to Dress a Doll. It was republished in the Girl's Own Toy Maker in 1868. So just like the different magazines kind of recycled fashion plates, they also did some of these instructions. And I wouldn't be surprised if some instructions like these were published elsewhere. Maybe in, what is the other one? Peterson's. I think it's, Goatees and Peterson's. Maybe even some French ones. But I haven't found any yet. And I dig through and I read through every single page on, I think it's the Gutenberg Project and Google Books. I literally will sit there and comb through it all to bring you all this great research. So, I know what I forgot, and I don't even have it at the house. Oh, dang it. I'm always forgetting something. Okay. I have a reproduction of this. I don't own an original. I wish I did. But in 1860, it was called Dolly's Dressmaker. It was the first first part, 1860. The second part is 1862. 2 sets of patterns. It was published in Berlin, I believe. Berlin and Paris. And then it made its way over here. And basically, it had around the same garments as you found in How to Dress a Doll. So the chemises, the outerwear, hats, you name it, it was in there. I think the second installation of those in 1862 actually, you can make like a swaddling board for your doll's baby. So I have not seen that pattern, even in reproduction form. You can get them. They've republished them in the 80s, I believe, but they're not that plentiful. I was gifted mine, so I was very lucky in that respect. If I ever can get a hold of the originals, you bet I will be copying them. Or at least republishing them because they're awesome. They're really fun. If you're ever at a Civil War event, you could have it out. I would probably do it in period binding, things like that. So you could have it out, you could be sewing for your doll, your kid could be playing with it, whatnot. So that, that was from the European market, which the next ones I'm going to go into are also from the European market. Oh, I do have one last one from Godey's. Whew, my brain is gone. So this is July 1868. Now, I showed you this because they're not actually sewing patterns. I believe that you could write to Godey's or a certain store and get the garments or the patterns, but I don't know because I can't find anything that says what it is. But this is the first page of the work department from July 1868. Very prettily dressed doll. And this has the patterns. They're actually knitting patterns. And I have made one. Can you hand me that, Lisa? The doll muff. Mm-hmm. You'd think I'd think about this stuff before we go live, but no. So, I've done, there's actually 4. I totally forgot. There was 4 knitting patterns in this one. So, there's a doll's muff and a doll's victrine, which is kind of like a mantle-y shrug thing. This is 68, so we're starting to get towards the bustle era. I have made the doll's muff. And now, don't judge my work because I'm an intermediate knitter who's not super well versed in Victorian knitting. So I did the best I could, but it was supposed to be done in a loop stitch, and then you went in and embroidered the faux ermine spots. I did actually order more of this mohair because it was supposed to be done in mohair to imitate fur. And then it has the ruffles, it had bows. It said pink. I hate pink. I'm sorry, folks. I really don't like pink. There's very few pinks I like, and I use them sparingly. So I had cream and black ribbon. So I basically was using what I had. It's lined with a silk. I think it's some type of woven black silk that was in my stash upstairs. I do want to make the victrine at some point when I don't have like full-size knitting to do. But the other thing, there's 2 other knitting patterns in this work department. And it is a stocking out of white Shetland wool and a boot out of blue and white Shetland wool and Angora wool, basically again to imitate fur. So I'm going to be doing the boots because I think they're adorable and you knit them flat. Excuse me. I don't know really how to knit in the round like for socks. I can knit in the round for really big projects, but stocking socks, I haven't gotten that far yet. So, I'm going to be doing the boot when I get a few other projects done first. Got the blue and I got the white wool upstairs. It's very thin, super thin yarn. This muff is pretty big. And that's my hands. It's pretty big. My 24-inch doll, 25-inch doll, modeled it for the photos because I didn't have anything else. I don't know if it's supposed to be this big. Like I said, I did the best I could with my resources and asking around from people who do this sort of thing. I'm still happy with the result, so if you ever see these patterns, supplements, things like that, go ahead and just try them. This was a lark. This was just like, I have to try this. Just to say I did it. So, like I said, I want to try more of the July 1868. And I challenge you guys, just recreate something from a period pattern. It doesn't matter if it's perfect, because that muff's not perfect. There's very few things I make that are perfect. Actually, probably none. But, so, before I got distracted, sorry. We're in Europe now. So we had the Dolly's Dressmaker, published in Berlin and Paris. And that was published in 2 parts. So, 1861, sorry, I know where I have to fit in my book of the week, but 1860 to 1861, I'm going to butcher some French, fair warning. Le Journal des Mesdemoiselles. I can't speak French. That was published in Paris, and there were patterns in that to dress a lady doll that was 17 inches, and her name was Miss Lily. The other patterns, she ends up being, somebody makes patterns for this doll in other magazines later. I'm not sure how long that one went on for, because I couldn't find too much information on it. The next one, which is where we get to our book of the week, we're in 1863. 1863, and you've got 3 different basically children's publications. Now, these are high-end, just as the Journal des Mesdemoiselles. I don't know, I probably butchered that again. These are all high-end. Godey's was if you couldn't afford it, you would know somebody who you might be able to borrow it from. But these, and even Dolly's Dressmaker was kind of, definitely middle class, but still affordable. These children's publications in Europe, and they're coming over to the U.S. We are getting them here, but they're high-end. So the big 3 in 1863 was La Poupée, Gazette de la Poupée, and La Poupée Modèle. Now, I don't know what time frame, but all 3 of those ended up merging. I think one just dropped out of the race completely, and then the other 2 merged, and they into La Poupée Modèle, or the doll's fashion, and they went on until 1923. So around 1923, and before that, you're going to have like Bluette, I'm not sure because it's not quite the era I study. I would assume maybe some for Mein Liebling. Some of the dolls like that of the period, and more baby dolls, because then baby dolls like really started taking off towards the end of the 19th century, early 20th. So my book of the week is, if you were with us for one of the first couple episodes and you heard about my story about the French book and shipping all the way from Paris, and I thought I was going to have to pay a crazy fee, this is the other book that I got really excited and I bought it. It did not come from Paris, didn't pay a crazy shipping price. But when this was published in 2 editions, a French edition and an English and French edition. Guess which one I got? The French edition. But I was so excited that I found it under $100 on eBay. I think it might have been $70, $80 for this. And I was so excited, I didn't even think twice to check the description to see if I could even read any of this. So, this is, I think, part 1. And the Paul Chanel publisher is actually the one who does this, which is Francis Thamer. It's a French name. I'm sorry. Sorry, Francis. This is La Poupée Model. Basically robe, dresses, accessories for that doll I was talking about, Miss Lily. She's a 17-inch doll. So, book looks like this. It is out of print. There is, I have to look inside because I don't remember. There's a second edition of this, or a second part, but it covers the rest of the 19th century. I think this goes up to the 1870s, mid-1870s. The other one goes through the rest of the 19th century. I don't have it because I don't quite have an interest in it, and being a very expensive book, you have to pick and choose. So I'm going to pull out, it's actually not quite so much a book as a pattern, a binder with patterns in it. So this is, it's all in French, guys. It starts in 1864 because that's about the time that Poupée Model started putting these pattern supplements out. So, starts in November of 1864. I don't know if there was more before, but you have the description, all in French. I literally have to type everything into a translator when I want to see what it says. So, this is November 1864, plate number 1. And then it describes the garments. This is a lot cleaner than, like, if for, say, a Godey's or Der Bazaar, the German fashion thing. They're pattern sheets where all the patterns are on one sheet, and you better have, I don't know, I don't even know what you would need to have to dissect these patterns, but I still think these are gorgeous. So we can see there's a collar. And it says it's a camisole, but I'm going to say, oh, col de la camisole. So a collar for a bodice, I believe is what that is. I have actually looked up some of this stuff. We have a nightcap. We have different embroidery, trim work, a hat, more trim descriptions. This is that bag. It's Berlin work. And I actually want to try that one day. Because I've done a Berlin work bag for dolls, but it was a lot more complicated than this. So literally, this book, put these in here so I don't make a mess. I make enough of those without doing it intentionally. Like I said, this is not a book. This is full of patterns. So this is my book of the week, even though it's not a book. Because if you can find this for under $100, even if it's in French, I don't regret buying this at all. Even if I can't read any of it. That's what Google, like, Babelfish or translates for. You definitely want this. If anything, it's just the pattern sheets are beautiful, and you can get illustration, or images for inspiration, not illustrations. And if you look on the front cover, it's so cute. They actually have basically little girls in the same types of situations that you see in, like, Godey's ladies book, but, you know, switch them out for full-grown ladies. So this was basically the children's fashion magazine. So, La Poupée Model by Polly Chanel Publications. Go find it because it's awesome. And definitely keep watch. I haven't looked at the prices recently, so I'm not quite sure what they are right now. And you will find more of the second volume of this before. So that one I love. I've actually never made anything from it, but I totally intend to one of these days. La Poupée Model, even though a lot of the patterns are for Miss Lily, that 17-inch lady doll. That is where, if you're familiar with the doll Hure, that is where you're going to find some of the patterns for that. I'm not sure what's in here. I'm not sure what's in this book folder, because I haven't pulled all of the pages out. Because with a lot of the books, I get them, I scan them, I throw them on the shelf, and then I go back later for them. So, do we have any questions? I do have more with the patterns, but...
No questions.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I think it's fall allergies. So, I actually have some originals of Le Popé Modèle. And they start in 1869. I don't have any super early. And I have them all the way up to January of 1870. So this is how they would have come. And actually this is very similar for most fashion magazines. It's very, very thin paper. And this is November 15th. Yeah, November 15th of 1869. Be very careful. You'll see that it's bound with just sewing the edge together. Like I said, this is very similar to how Godey's had their, how you would get Godey's when it came in the mail. And then, I'm gonna wait till, when you open it, they had all these beautiful plates. And unfortunately, I don't know if the sellers on eBay do this or they just get separated. You will see a lot of times the plates, the illustrations, just sold by themselves. But this has got a little girl, she's holding a doll, and she's helping maybe her sister up who's got a doll next to her. And it's just adorable. And I'm trying to see, I don't know if I had one with patterns, because a lot of times what happens is the pattern supplement gets pulled out and then people just sell the magazine. But I thought I had one that had a pattern so I could show you an original. And yes, I should have had this handy. Had a weekend. So, yeah, I don't remember, and I don't want you guys to have to watch me go through patterns. So, these are exceedingly rare. I stumbled on those eBay, I think. I don't know. But I do know, they don't come to market very often. So I didn't care what year they were. I was buying them. Theriault's auction house, they will often have them in their auctions. Because a lot of times, when a doll collector passes or wants to sell their collection, they will have the supporting material with it. So the doll fashion magazines, doll accessories, doll patterns, doll furniture, you will literally have everything. So if you start collecting dolls, get ready. It's a disease. It doesn't stop. You just collect everything. So you get a little bit of everything with those auctions, and a lot of times that's where the stuff is popping up. But you can always just search eBay, Etsy, Ruby Lane. Ruby Lane's probably going to be hellish expensive. I love Ruby Lane though, but they definitely have higher end items. And I wish my bank account could afford them. I don't even know how much I paid for this magazine lot, but it was under $100. I know that because I don't buy too many things over that price range. So they said the stuff comes up. You just have to be really vigilant. You know, maybe I know on my eBay app on my phone, you can set a specific search for something. And then you can have it like a notification, or some of my searches I don't have notifications on. So I do stuff that way. That's a good way to do it. I don't think Etsy has anything like that. Or Ruby Lane. I'm not quite sure. I'm still learning Ruby Lane personally, but I am looking at a Ruby Lane shop. We'll see. There's a lot of work. I forgot how much information you have to put in when you're setting up an online shop. So I am going to try to do that this week. But basically, you know, a lot of the patterns you're going to find are coming in the home magazines or in specially printed children's or doll magazines. You know, like I said, the collector's book of doll clothes goes into a lot of it, like dates and names and who went bankrupt at what time. I didn't want to bore y'all with that because I kind of drifted off reading it too. Now a lot of times though, in home settings, they didn't always use patterns. So if you don't use a pattern, don't worry. You're very, very period correct, because sometimes you had the piece of fabric, you draped it on the doll. Might look great, might look meh, might look, oh Lord, nobody needs to see that. But it was loved by the child who had it. So that's normally what you find is, I mean, there's pattern. I know Hure, for example. There's patterns from Le Poupée Modèle that people have found originals that are right out of the magazine. They're out there, but they're going to be rare. And especially for Hure, you're going to find Hure marked ready-made pieces more all over the magazine. So that is my little kind of nutshell version of doll clothing patterns, because I could go on for hours, but you probably don't want to hear it. So I'm trying to think. I had something else. I don't remember what it is now. So hello for anybody who's just joined us recently or now. Have any questions, comments?
No questions. We've got Robin West just joined us.
Hello.
Sherry Alviar. Elaine Klug.
So glad everybody's here. Trying to see.
Becky Koplik.
Welcome, welcome. So, trying to think. First off, I had a question. I had a serious question for everybody. It's fall. Well, officially not, but it's fall. It's September, it's fall, in my book.
Next weekend.
Yeah, we got a week to go. I'm just calling it fall now. Are you team apple or are you team pumpkin spice? Because that's like the big debate. I know I love pumpkin. I don't like pumpkin spice because normally it's overspiced, but I'm team apple, like all the way, generally. So, definitely want to hear, because, you know, I got super excited. We went to the farmer's market yesterday. I came home with so many apples. I got a mix of two, and very sweet, really awesome dessert apples. I'm going to do some fried apples. And then last night we had apple dumplings, which were good, but the apple wasn't quite sweet enough. So I'm actually going to try my hand at that. I'll let you know how that goes, because I haven't made like dough in a while. Anything in the matter? Okay.
No, I was just looking at this thread.
Oh, that's the leftover. Lisa found my leftover yarn from the doll muff. So there's a little teeny hank of it. Yeah, I'm actually thinking the next week I might start those doll boots because they're adorable. And I really want to make something doll knitting wise. Oh. Since we're talking, you know what I'm going for, don't you? The knitted stuff. It should be up there. Underneath, maybe, the doll? Or did I move it?
Oh, there.
Ah, good.
There we go.
And then the chemise is under there, too.
Okay.
So these are from 1897. Or 1880s, I think. It's cream colored.
Yep. Hold on.
Okay. So, I'm totally forgetting the name of the book. Weldon, I think it's Weldon's Encyclopedia of Needlework. I don't even have the book down here. But I found these patterns. I'm on Ravelry for any knitters who are not on Ravelry. Why not? And I'm always looking up doll patterns because I love knitting really tiny things because I'm nuts. So the first one I did, what was the first one? Oh, was the most difficult one. These are from about the 1880s. It's this crimson petticoat. And I didn't actually, I don't know if I blocked these. I'm really bad about that.
Bring it over.
It's so many, there's so many ribs. There's this textured lace border. It took me forever, but I love it. And I hoard antique doll size buttons, so I did that. I'm so proud of myself. I did a knitted buttonhole. It was very exciting. This one's not as good as the other one. No, this one's the better one. The second one was worse. And these were meant for about a 16, 17-inch doll. And there's more. There's more patterns. And they're like the French Bébé style dolls. There's like Snow Queen and Little Red Riding Hood. And I don't know if I'm going to go all that far, but I love undergarments. And if I had this in my size, like, it's so soft, I would wear the heck out of this thing. So that's one of the petticoats. The other one, I really love, and I think it's more because of the yarn. It's this beautiful ice blue. It's got this lace, again, that textured lace work, ribbing, and the top part was really simple. This took a while, but it's adorable, and I found the side where I dropped a stitch. I always see them way after the time I did that. So I just got a little antique button on the waist. This is actually a good project if you want to use up some of those antique buttons that you only have one. Like, I think this one, the crimson petticoat, has this gray 3-hole button. I only had one of them. Well, what are you going to do with one button? I mean, I don't care. I just buy them. But what are most people going to do when you only have one button? This is such the Victorian solution to that. That's why they saved buttons. They saved trims. And I think a lot of us who costume dolls or have dolls, we're kind of the same way. And the other piece that there is a third petticoat, but I haven't knit that one yet. I'll probably do that after I do the boots. This has a lot of mistakes. This has a lot of mistakes, but it's a chemise. And it's just a very simple, you knit 2 pieces. And then you seam it together. The knitting shop that we go to thought I was nuts because I was actually working on this when we went in for a knitting workshop one time because I was so excited, and I brought in my other pieces, and the knitting shop's owner's husband was just looking at me, and he was like, I don't know how you're doing that. And then, of course, proceeded to show me more yarn, which, of course, I had to buy some because it's yarn. It's like fabric. You can't have enough. So check, if you ever come across the antique needlework books, you can always check there for patterns, because I want to say it's Weldon's Volume 9 when they republished it. This was in the children's section. So it's not a section I normally check, or I used to not check, but there's all those older encyclopedias from the 19th century and early 20th century. They will probably have some in there. I have not found them all yet. I will at some point, but I have not found them all. So at some point in the future, I will probably talk more about the doll knitting once I've done a couple more garments and looked at the different styles. There are some different patterns, some antique patterns you don't see a lot on Ravelry. I just type in doll petticoat, and then you type in every which combination, then kind of go from there. And then that yarn that I used for those, for any knitters out there, quick note on the yarn, it came from Knit Picks, and it is their lace weight. I had to think about that. I used to use fingering weight, but that was actually that was too thick. The lace weight is perfect. It has that right sponginess. It has the right texture that you would expect if you were knitting a full-size garment. And their hanks last forever. I'm swimming in some of these colors still. So if anybody wants to do a lace weight yarn swap, hit me up, because new colors, all that fun stuff. Trying to think. Do we have any questions? Any new peoples?
Nope.
So, I want to hear more of what you guys want to hear about, because I can talk all day long about random subjects of dolls. But if it's not what you want to hear, I would like to talk about something you want to hear about. This is apple cider, by the way. Team Apple here. Still definitely want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Hard cider?
No hard cider. I did think about adding, what did I used to add to sweet tea? Whiskey? Yeah, well,
Jack or Jim?
No, it was something else. I don't remember. It was like a Irish whiskey something. Yeah, and I did think about adding a little bit of that. Jim.
It was Jim?
Jim Beam.
Okay.
Yeah, because normally when I did that, it was Jim Beam for the win. Yeah, I would take raspberry. We have Turkey Hill up here in Pennsylvania. And I would take raspberry tea. It's raspberry sweet tea. It's amazing. If you're ever up this way, hit a Turkey Hill Minute Mart or a grocery store, and you will find Turkey Hill. The iced teas and the juices are amazing. And their ice creams, oh my god, love them. But I would take, and I would have a big glass of iced tea and put a shot of Jim Beam in there. And normally I did that on days when I had emails where, customers were not quite as friendly. But it added a slight different flavor. You couldn't really taste it, but I thought it would be actually really good with the apple cider. I think the taste would blend. I don't know. Might have to try it. So, we might actually be ending early today. Like I said, I really want to hear what you guys what you want to hear. I know I say this every week, but I do. If there's something you want a question and answer session, cool. We can do that. Everybody sends me their questions, and I answer them on live. You ask them live. Maybe you want to see my doll collection. I mean, there's certain pieces I don't photograph or show on film or talk about, so we could do that. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention, obviously, if you're watching this, you have some way to connect to my Facebook, the Repro Dolls Facebook page. I posted the link a couple times. I signed up for Patreon, which is basically you pledge a certain amount of money and it comes out, you pay it once a month. So I have 3 different levels. Hold on, I shall get you the levels. Hold on there. I was really cute and creative when I was doing this. I did this at night too. It was great. My memberships. Nope. So there is Ragdoll level, China Head level, China Head Doll level. Maybe. Is it going to show me? No, it's not going to show me. Of course not. And then, here we go. I don't know this app that well. Ragdoll level was just $5 a month. And then China Head Doll, which is $10 per month. You can see there's a trend. Fancier dolls. French Fashion Doll, which is $25 a month. And at $50 a month is Doll Connoisseur. But basically, what I'm trying to raise funding for is currently right now, we are filming in a corner of my living room. One of these days, I will take y'all on a little tour before we go live about what my living room looks like when we're doing this. Unfortunately, it does have its barriers. We can't really talk to other people. Like, I can't really have guests. I'm working on it, but the goal would be right now, the first goal is, for some reason, the Patreon says $500. I don't know why. I didn't put that number in there. But I would like to take myself and my tech crew, minus the cats, to up in Harrisburg, which is about an hour or 45 minutes-ish north of us. There is a dollhouse museum. When I say dollhouse museum, it's not a museum of dollhouses. It's a doll museum that looks like a dollhouse. It's adorable. The owner, her mom started it, and I really, really want to go up there and interview her live, do a tour for you guys, do some other information. And she actually, the great thing is she has dolls for sale. So, we could even do a small session of, hey, you want this doll? This is doll number such and such. This is the number you need to call. So you could even kind of do a little bit of shopping. They're antique dolls, vintage dolls, all sorts of things like that. I really want to take myself and the tech team up there. Unfortunately, without monetary support, because this live does not support my business, and my business can't really support the live, monetarily speaking. So, we just like a little bit of monies to take us up there, gas, maybe feed us. I do know we would probably need a little, some lighting, some easier to transport lighting, which I've looked at a couple things, $30, $40, nothing. Basically the same amount we paid for these guys. But these are crazy to set up, and there's a lot of work and a lot of parts. And if we're moving and we're filming, I want to have something that's more consistent for you guys, so you're not like, there's not dark spots, things like that. So, please, if you can't, and if you can't financially contribute, maybe if you could share it, that would be great. Send it to friends, share it in some groups, whatnot. That would be awesome. I have one supporter so far on there, and I'm going to give her a shout out because she's so awesome. She's my number one. Michelle. Hey, Michelle. And the tiers do have different levels. You get different perks. You get, some of them have coupons. and I believe the Doll Connoisseur and maybe the French Fashion Doll, I have to look, have doll goodies, like physical doll goodies that I mail to you. I believe all of them but the first level have coupons throughout the year. So, please, thank you. And like I said, if you can't donate financially, I get it. I totally get it. But if you could just share it for me, that would be perfect. That would be awesome. So I think we're going to wrap it up. You didn't have any questions, comments?
No, Marilyn Hughes just joined us.
Welcome. We're just ending, but you can go back. The great thing with this stuff is the lives. You can go back, watch it, and then if you comment on it, I can go back in and actually answer it in the comment section. So we are going to reconvene here in my living room next Sunday at 6. I definitely like the different time. I get sleep on Sunday nights. So I don't know what the topic will be.
Watching the page.
Yeah. It might be posted by tomorrow. It might be posted by Saturday. It really depends on if I can get my indecisive mind to pick something. So please, if you have ideas, let me know and we can go from there. So everybody have a good week. Remember to breathe, and I'll see you next